So, good evening, everyone. I am Prajakta from the marketing team at LEAD. And on behalf of LEAD, I would like to welcome you all to the live webinar on NEP 2020 Building 21st Century Skills in Students. This webinar is the sixth one in the series of free webinars where we talk about various topics relevant to school owners and principals. Today, we have with us Ms. Ashima Goel, who is AVP New Initiatives in the academic team at LEAD. Ms. Ashima is an engineer from IIT Bombay and a policy and development graduate from the London School of Economics. She has been working with education. She has been working on various projects in education in different capacities for almost 20 years and has experience working with schools, organizations, and governments in India, Africa, Europe, and the United States. With her extensive knowledge and experience, I'm sure you will gain a lot from today's session. So without further ado, I would request Ms. Ashima ma'am to take it over and start the session.
Thank you, Prajakta, and thank you to all the participants. I think it's an honor and it's a privilege to be here today, to be in the same room. We can call it like it's a virtual room, to be in the same room with all of you who are shaping the next generation or shaping our current future, right? And in fact, it just like when Neeta ma'am and Seema ma'am introduced themselves, it just reminded me of my own school because I'm from a sister school. Like my own education has been in Rajmata Gayatri Devi School from Jaipur. So when I read the Girls Public Rajmata Girls Public School, and I was like, oh my God, this is like my own school. So I am in front of my own teachers in that sense. And forgive me if I do not know certain things, but I would, I'm so sorry, but I'm really honored to just be here and discuss about this topic, which is a very key topic these days. Don't think of me as a presenter, but if you have any questions, if you want to put forth any point, please feel free to put that in the chat. Please do introduce yourself as you come in, because it will not only help us know you better, but also help us connect with you later on as well. We got a message called voice disturbance. Prajakta, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, there was a message on the chat which said voice disturbances. And please do let me know if you can't hear me in between, and forgive the technological disturbances if they may happen. So I think while we are waiting for more people to join, we do have a poll to begin this important topic, which is NEP 2020, Building 21st Century in Skills. But before that, I mean, this is a very simple and yet the fundamental question, like what is the purpose of education? Why are we all here, right? What is the purpose of education? So I think in Prajakta, you will launch the poll, right? In just a few seconds, you will see a poll coming up on your screen, and just answer whatever comes to your mind as the first response. And let's take it forward from there. I mean, I can't see the responses. So Prajakta, okay, you'll have to.
Yeah, I can see about 60% people have responded. We'll wait for another 5 seconds. 4, okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, fine. I'll end the poll and show the results on screen for everyone. Yeah, these are the results.
Okay. That's great to see. Nobody mentioned academic achievement. I mean, I don't think that's surprising the way our education is changing, and why you all are here, because the topic itself has been about skill building and building 21st century skills. So we have almost a tie between developing real life skills and becoming better human beings, which again, I think when we were thinking of the options, we were also a bit conflicted as to how they are they mutually exclusive or not, and they are not, and which clearly reflects in our poll result as well. So I'll close the poll. And On this slide, like this is one of my favorite metaphors for education educators. Whenever I see a potter, right, which is why I put this image as well. Whenever we are shaping something, the importance of the inner hand and the outer hand is equally important, is critical. And when we think about the future, right, when we think about students, when we think about making better human beings, both the outer hand, the visible hand, as well as the inner hand, the invisible, are important behind the scenes. So a lot of us may not be teachers who are right there in front of our students, but we are working behind the scenes to make sure that our students are becoming the better citizens, the better human beings that we want them to. So thank you so much to all of you for being who you are and putting in your passion, putting in your heart in this role. Prajakta, can you move to the next slide? Okay, Bashir sir, I don't know if anybody else is hearing any voice disturbances, but Prajakta, like his message twice that there are voice disturbances.
Maybe other people can respond in the
Can
chat.
anybody else respond? If there is no, he's only messaging us. Okay. Thank you, Shivani ma'am. Yeah, so I thought we've responded to the question, right? Let's see. Thank you, Reena ma'am. Thank you, Aftab sir. Yeah. So let's see what NEP says about this, right? It's like, what is the purpose of education? Like the purpose, and I will read this slowly because I think this is at the heart of anything and everything that NEP 2020 recommends and proposes. So the purpose of education is to develop good human beings capable of rational thought and action, possessing compassion and empathy, courage and resilience, scientific temper and creative imagination, with sound ethical moorings and values. It aims at producing engaged, productive, and contributing citizens for building an equitable, inclusive, and plural society as envisaged by our Constitution. And if you see that nowhere in this vision statement do we see a reference to academic performance or knowledge acquisition, which I think this group also understands very well because we had absolutely no responses to the first one. And this is exactly the transformation that NEP is emphasizing in our education system, to move from the culture of rote learning, the content-heavy textbooks and lessons, to a more holistic approach where we are developing the child completely into a good human being who is engaged, who is a productive and a contributing citizen of the country. So we will not be looking at, NEP is vast, right? It covers school education till university. It covers not just the curriculum, the pedagogy, the use of technology, the accreditation systems, the assessment, but it also covers governance and regulations. So this talk is very focused. But in the next slide, I'll just take you through a few key elements which are part of how NEP is going to revamp the purpose of education, like how they are proposing. Can we move to the next slide, please, Prajakta? Yeah, so I've just picked a few. There are many more. And the few key which are important to revamping school education. So the first one being the new academic structure that is being proposed. Instead of 10+2, which was from class 1 till class 12, now NEP proposes 5+3+3+4, and it includes children from the age of 3 onwards. So this is the first time that pre-primary or early education has come as part of our education policy. And we are clearly defining, like the second point, which is early childhood care and education, there are clearly defined goals and learning outcomes for this age group. And the foundational literacy and numeracy outcomes as well, with the target that by the end of, I think, 2026, every child in before grade 3 will achieve foundational literacy and numeracy. What this also does is developmentally, our brain changes at these specific levels of age groups, and it allows for our pedagogy to respond to that. It allows for our curriculum to respond to that. So look at one sub-school in its own and look at the jumps or the shifts between sub-schools. So the second point is about early childhood care and education and foundational literacy and numeracy, which I covered. So the detailed document Nipun Bharat really outlines what all the child needs to achieve by that age: holistic learning and curricular integration, focus on skill building, right? So all of these 5 points, they're not mutually exclusive. So if you see the first, which is the new academic structure, so what does curricular integration and holistic learning mean within that new academic structure, right? When we are looking at the foundational years, which is nursery to class 5, we are looking at a more flexible play-based curriculum, a thematic-based curriculum. When we are looking at preparatory years, which is class 3 to class 5, we're looking at a more activity-based and interactive learning experience for the child. In middle school, which is class 6 to class 8, it's more experiential and discussion-based. And in secondary years, which is class 9 to class 12, we are looking at multidisciplinary with a greater depth of subject knowledge and also a focus on higher order thinking skills. Teacher empowerment, more trainings for teachers, a minimum qualification for teachers, more support for teachers in terms of resources, revamping and reassessing assessments. Like assessments are the one way that they're the point of truth, or how we are looking at our systems. And so while we are revamping the whole curriculum, the assessments are also going through a revamp with a moving away from a culture of testing for memory or testing for knowledge to testing for competency. And the report cards will also be more holistic, and they will not just tell how a child is doing in a subject, but how a child is developing or progressing in a 360 degrees view. How are his values developing? How are his skills developing? And one of the statements from NEP has been that the aim of education will not only be cognitive development, but also building character and holistic and well-rounded individuals equipped with the key 21st century skills. So this will reflect in our assessments. This will reflect in our progress report cards. Moving on, like Prajakta, can you, sorry. So what are these 21st century skills, right? What do we mean by these 21st century skills? In simple terms, 21st century skills are just a set of skills, a set of learning skills, personality, life, and career skills that are important to succeed in today's world. I mean, it is today's world because we are 22 years already into the 21st century. And there are many frameworks that have been developed for 21st century. I think if we go back and look at the education systems around the world, in 1996, Dolores report was the first one that proposed the framework to identify competencies needed in the coming century, because it was still 20th century at that time. And since then, multiple frameworks have been developed. This is a framework that has been recommended by CBSE, and they have a handbook for 21st century skills. So they have bucketed the skills or the essential skills required by children in this century as learning skills, which includes critical thinking, creativity and innovation, collaboration and communication. Literacy skills, which includes mostly digital literacy, information literacy, media literacy, technology literacy, and also life skills like leadership skills, flexibility, adaptability, initiative and self-direction, social and cross-cultural interaction. And we will not go into details of each of these skills, but we will look at 5 specific skill sets in further detail as to what each one of them is, why are they important, how can we implement them in our classrooms. And I would like to take a pause if there is any question right now, or if I'm going too fast, if we can take some questions on the chat if there are any before going further into details of each of the skills. Okay, if there aren't any, okay, then okay, thank you, Vijay ma'am. We'll move forward. So the 5 skills, or the 5 specific 21st century skills that we will look into are: first, critical thinking, creativity and innovation, collaboration, digital literacy, coding and computational thinking, and communication. So Ansaruddin ji, is there any age restriction in NEP? I didn't really understand the question. Like, it doesn't specify what is an age of a student going in class 1. Like, it doesn't specify anything like that, but it specifies the learning outcomes for each class. And the schooling has been divided into structures. So class nursery till class 2 is one sub-school called foundational. Class 3 to class 5 is another sub-school called preparatory. Class 6 to class 8 is called middle school, and class 9 to class 12 is called secondary. But it doesn't, at least I haven't come across any age restrictions that specified for any of the classes. Prajakta, can you move to the next slide? Thank you. So what is critical thinking, right? And critical thinking and problem solving are the two skills that often go hand in hand. So it's the capability of objective analysis of information. And an example of this would be, there are so many issues that kids read about in newspaper these days, like a lot. And there are multiple perspectives around each one of them. And it's difficult for a child even to understand what's a right perspective, what's a wrong perspective, or what there may not be any right or wrong perspective, but for him or her to frame their own opinions or to come to a conclusion, how do they filter this information? How do they analyze this information? An example is a student may see news item about climate change. So they reflect on the different arguments, they ask questions, they learn more about the topic, evaluate different viewpoints, and then come to a recent conclusion. And they're not just influenced by any of the arguments without a clear analysis of information. That is what we mean by critical thinking. And it's critical to understand, like, sorry for the use or the double use of the word, but it's a critical skill, because without critical thinking, we can't really face real life problems or solve them, because we won't be understanding them in their entirety. Well, how can we implement critical thinking, or how can we teach critical thinking to our students in classrooms? A few ways are encourage questions in the classroom, facilitate discussions in the classroom, promote independent thinking, include decision-making activities, observe and share feedback, and go beyond academic learning. And I just wanted to say that all the pictures that you would see are actually pictures from our classrooms. So these are some of the activities where we have built in the curriculum, which are geared towards building critical thinking skills in the students. Then moving on, creativity and innovation. And what does creativity and innovation means? It refers to having a new way of seeing or doing things. And the ability to innovate means thinking creatively to develop something new and unique. And the example that I actually found a lot of examples of innovations coming from very small kids. Like, this is an innovation from a grade 5 kid who saw some of his friends with a fractured arm and the sling causing a lot of pain in the neck. And he was thinking, like, how can I solve this problem? And he came with an idea of an armrest for a fractured arm, where you put something on your waist and you rest your arm over it. And this does not just say seeing new way of seeing things, like having a new way of seeing things or thinking creatively. It also talks about empathy. It also talks about compassion. For him to be able to see or to feel that I need to solve this problem. There were more examples, like there were 2 kids in Sikkim who actually came up with an idea of a public filtration system, because they saw in their village everybody using individual filtration system in their own homes, or some people not having access to filtration systems. So then they said, why can't we have a common filtration system right at the source? And that's what they designed for. And these were middle school students. So it's actually like the potential. How can we unleash this potential in our kids? And high level of creativity, why do we need high level of creativity? Not just to solve problems, but high level of creativity are associated with high performance and success in life. And what are some of the ways that we can promote creativity and innovation in our own classrooms? We need to create an environment which is characterized by learner autonomy and experimentation. Unless we experiment, unless the child maybe fails at something, like maybe, or failure is just a way of knowing, thinking beyond obvious. Yes, Vijay sir, like thinking beyond obvious, not being afraid of being ridiculed. Because unless I'm experimenting, unless I'm making mistakes, or my experiments show me that this is not working, then only I will try something else and I will come to a solution or come to an idea which will work. So there needs to be opportunities to observe, opportunities to learn, and practice strategies such as problem solving, conceptual combination, and brainstorming. Conceptual combination would mean like bringing knowledge from all subjects together, which is what creativity would mean, would need, which is what critical thinking would need, right? Thank you. Prajakta, can we move to next slide? Yes, again, coming to, like I said, nothing is mutually exclusive, nor are the recommendations of NEP mutually exclusive, nor are these skills mutually exclusive. When you are creative, collaboration is also key to enhance your creativity. Collaboration is the ability to effectively work together with others while respecting others' needs and perspectives. And I think what is important here is while respecting others' needs and perspectives, because unless I can listen to other person, unless I can know what their problem is, unless I can know their perspectives, their ideas, I can't really evaluate my own idea, or I can't really improve on my own idea. And a lot of things can be achieved through collaboration, right? There was, during COVID, we saw so many initiatives coming out of schools, like a group of class 10 students in Delhi had launched a food bank for poor families. Another group of students had actually started a drive to feed stray animals during COVID. A lot of initiatives have been had happened during that time. And I'm not talking right in the middle of lockdown, but yes, when they were able to go outside. And it helps, collaboration doesn't just help us individually learn better, but it helps achieve the goals of a bigger group, the common goals that we have for society, for a nation. And collaboration can be built into the classroom in very simple ways. Some of the ways are, Prajakta, can you move to the next slide, please? Yeah, like some of the ways of facilitating collaborative learning activities, right, is to set clear guidelines and provide support when required, set goals and expectations from the activity, use real world problems, provide feedback, and evaluate based on the group composition. And like Vijay, like in the chat, Vijay sir has said, it builds tolerance to different views and not just being attached to own view. And that's very important for us to even learn other skills and succeed in our life. So benefits from multidimensional views. Thank you, Vijay sir. Going forward to the next skill, digital literacy, coding, computational thinking. Digital literacy is the ability to understand and use technology, and computational thinking is the process of approaching a problem in a systemic manner and creating a solution such that it can be carried out by a computer. So I would like to unpack this a little. So computational thinking is not just creating a solution that can be carried out by a computer, but it's about thinking systematically. It's about thinking sequentially, because a computer takes in command sequentially. A computer does a process in a certain manner. And that's what computational thinking develops in us through the medium of coding. So examples are, there have been examples where a group of students had used data to understand what's the impact, what is the amount of food wastage in India, what's the impact of it, and they'd come up with these ideas on how to prevent them. There was also an example of a group of students, again, understanding the impact of climate change. Like they had studied the different weather phenomena that were happening, the frequency at which they were happening, and how does it relate to climate change, or how does it relate to our activities that are leading to climate change. And I wouldn't even say the why of digital literacy, right? Like our future is increasingly technology dependent, and NEP also talks about integration of technology in curriculum, which is why it is very important to understand coding and computational and to develop computational thinking skills. In digital literacy, apart from understanding the use of technology, I would also say, like, what it also covers or what it also includes is a judicious use of technology. a sensible and a careful use of technology, right? There is so much information available to us today. And I was talking to one of our principals in, I think in Haryana. I was on a school visit, and she was telling me that, when I was a student, I barely knew anything beyond my own city. And I went to the school there, I went to the college there, and I only afterwards was I introduced to a much bigger world. But these days, my students are exposed to so much more. What I want to tell them is how to understand and get correct knowledge, how to decipher between where to go, what to use, what websites to use, how to be careful about it, and then use them. And that is all covered under use of technology. So it's not just how to use a computer, but how to judicially use a computer, not just how to use internet, but how to judiciously use an internet. Prajakta, can we move to the next one? A few ways to develop digital literacy, coding, and computational thinking skills are: we encourage the use of digital tools in learning. We include lessons on responsible use of digital resources and online communication. And we start with low code or no code tools, especially in our in Lead's curriculum, we do start with computational thinking even in pre-primary years, but we don't use computers for it. You don't need computers to learn computational thinking. Let students have fun while coding, encourage hands-on experience, encourage breaking down problems into smaller parts. That is what computational thinking is, and that is what a computer needs, which is why it is told that way. Demonstrate how to recognize patterns and identify information that is relevant and important. Remaining focused on the subject matter of the research, so avoid being flooded with information. Yes, it's, I think the term of rabbit hole is very common these days, that I went to search for something and I kept on going deeper and deeper into it, or I kept on clicking and clicking different links, which wasn't very productive. So a lot of things get covered under digital literacy beyond just the basic use of technology, which is what I'm saying, like it's a judicious use of technology. Thank you, Vijay sir. So moving to the next one, which is communication and also language skills. So communication is the ability to express one's opinion, desires, apprehensions, etc. appropriately, both verbally and non-verbally. So communication doesn't just mean how am I able to frame my sentences, but it also means how am I acting in front of the other people? What is my body language? What is my expression? And it's not just about me talking, it is also about me listening. So communication is, active listening is a big part of communication. And a common example of it, which might be a lot of you might be doing in your schools as well. I, as a student, was part of, like, my school was doing it, and I remember how I was very scared initially when going on the stage, and slowly, like, how my teachers and mentors helped me through it. The students holding mock elections in their schools or mock parliaments in their schools and preparing manifestos, delivering speeches and participating in healthy debates. I would really urge that if there's any question that you guys have, please feel free to message us on the chat, and I'll be happy to take them. Like I said, I don't want it to become a one-way communication. So if we have a dialogue, because all of us are educators over here, and all of us are students as well. I think a teacher is a lifelong learner. So if you have any questions, any concerns, any views, please do put them on the chat. So why is communication important? It's important for building confidence and career growth. Like, I don't even think that this needs any unpacking as to why communication as another appropriate way of expressing oneself as well as behaving in verbally as well as non-verbally is important for us in the society. Thank you, Prajakta. Can we move to the next one? How to develop communication skills, like Vijay sir has put on the chat. Speaking is easy, talking needs special qualities. So how do we actually build these skills in our students? We need to initiate and engage in conversations with our children. We need to teach them the importance of empathy Like I said, active listening is a very key part of communication. Create a safe environment so that the child is confident of sharing, even if while they are still developing their skills, they are okay to share. And yes, Basavaraj sir, by supporting every child in the classroom, which is why we are saying like create a safe environment, encourage active listening, share positive and constructive feedback. That's very important. Like every time the child is speaking or is trying to engage in a conversation, if you share some positive and constructive feedback for the child to work upon. And what are the key changes initiated by NEP? Some of them we actually looked in the previous slide as well, like how is NEP talking about integrating these skills, or where all do we integrate these skills in our curriculum? So the curriculum and pedagogical initiatives such as change in academic structure, right? So when we go towards a 5+3+3+4, different skills get integrated, or I wouldn't say different skills, but skills at a different level get integrated. You can't just learn critical thinking in grade 10. You need to start building towards it from early on itself. Each of these life skills are skills that need time to build on. And they may be as simple as being able to draw a tree that I saw in nursery, to being able to write an essay on climate change in, say, grade 10. Right? So the change in academic structure allows us to accommodate these skills in age-appropriate manner at different levels. The Lakshya or the targets for foundational literacy and numeracy also clearly spell out many of these skills that the children need to develop by the age group or by the class of grade 2. Reduction in curriculum content, like we said before, we need to move away from content heavy to actually a more holistic development of the child, and towards a more a culture of understanding than a culture of rote learning. Experiential learning at all stages. Assessments that target competency rather than knowledge. Report cards that capture more than academics. How do we capture more than academics in our report cards? Unis ma'am has a question that I understand the communication part, but how to teach the grammar and the right way to write the sentences. Unis ma'am, that's a subject expertise, and the English language curriculum will very properly cover how to write correct sentences and how to learn proper grammar. And while learning that, the child will learn how to express themselves better. Is there, Unes sir, sorry, I'm extremely sorry. So is there any idea on, are you currently, like, are your report cards currently capturing more than just academics? What are the different things that we are capturing in our report cards other than academics? Does anybody want to share something there? No? Okay. Innovate methods to introduce subjects like math and coding skills, including feedback on overall development. Yes, Neeta ma'am. I also remember when I was a teacher that when I was teaching to primary kids, the school that I worked with had a very small section on all the subjects, and then one page of the report card was actually on how is the child greeting everybody, how is, like, as a class teacher I need to put in a lot of those things. So I guess the overall development report card needs to cover outcome of the purpose of education. Yes. Thank you, Jesser. Practical and project work knowledge also comes under report cards. Yes. Thank you, Nesser. I would say, please, like some of you are messaging on host and panelist, please do select everyone so that everyone can look at your comments. Scholastic, co-scholastic areas. Yes. Yes, Reena ma'am, thank you so much. So like when we are at co-scholastic areas, NEP also recommends academic development progress needed. Yes, that's also that's currently the key part of our report cards. But like Suchitra ma'am says, report needs child's performance and communication skills, interpersonal skills, leadership skills, and social skills. Yes, Neeta ma'am, like all skills need to come out in our report cards as well. And when we are looking at co-scholastic areas, NEP is also recommending that we need to add more fun and vocational courses for the children. Vocational courses are recommended to be added from class 6 onwards itself. Report cards, full report card of student skills, vocational courses. Yes, there is an increased emphasis also on use of Indian context and also use of local language as in teaching. So even if you are an English medium school, NEP does say that till certain age groups, we should be using local language, especially in the early years, to teach children. And that actually will enhance their critical thinking and communication skills because that's the language they are most comfortable with early on. So, Ullas sir, I'll get back to you on this. The deadline, I think, is next year or the year later when NEP has recommended that NCRT should come up with the new textbooks. At what levels of schools and phases. So till now, even the learning outcomes have only come for till grade 2. The learning outcomes for other grades are not there yet. So I think we are still some distance away from textbooks coming from NCRT based on these, but yeah, I think there hasn't been any announcement on that yet. Parents' feedback on practice of values at home. Prajakta, can you move to the next slide? Thank you so much. So I think apart from just report cards, right? My question would be like, we've looked at these 5 skills and we've looked at some of the ways that they can be implemented in our classrooms. I would like you guys to share, like, if you are already imparting some of these 21st century skills, how are you imparting them? And also, like, what are some of the challenges that you foresee or you do face in integrating skills in your curriculum? I like shortage of teachers and facilitators. Okay. Thank you, Nestor. He replied that no. Anand, teaching robotics might be a challenge. Any other challenge or any other example that you might want to share where you've been where you see a lot of skills coming through in your children? Jyoti ma'am, how we can implement this in homeschooling? I think all of the ideas that all of the ways that we shared of implementing these in classrooms are also applicable for homeschooling as well. In homeschooling, you might have a smaller set of children or maybe just one child whom you're homeschooling. But most of these suggestions will work there. Field trips followed by reflection sessions. Yes, very true. The NEP also recommends Indian context. So having field trips within our cities, within our entrepreneurship mindset curriculum. Suchitra ma'am says we've been imparting the skills that I mentioned along with vocational courses to the boys and girls class 6 onwards. Major challenges are the society needs and open acceptance. Yes, and do you think, Suchitra ma'am, that the society is slowly coming towards an acceptance of it, or do you see a challenge there? Weekend reflection sessions, highly qualified teachers needed that students are interested to learn different skills. Yes, I hope so too, Suchitra ma'am. And I I think I do see a change. Imagine like the earlier NEP was this policy itself is such a big step for our government, for our whole country, and it will lead to a change in mindset. Students are still finding it difficult to interact, expressing. Yes, very true. This has come out as a common challenge amongst a lot of our interviews with teachers. The students are finding it difficult to interact, difficult to express themselves, which makes it even more important that as they are coming back to schools after 2 years of COVID, we introduce these routines in our classrooms. We actively, consciously add these opportunities in our lessons. Everyone is only after math and science marks in other subjects and says only these are priority. Yes, continuous learning. Peter sir, does NEP include mental health? NEP includes well-being. If we look at the learning outcomes which have come out till grade 2, well-being has a big place in that. And I would say that well-being would include mental health as well, but does it specifically say mental health? I am not too sure, but it does say well-being. It talks about the well-being and the social and emotional health of the child. Yes. Abhishek sir had said 21st century skills of making website and app, how to use smartphones smartly. Yes. Happiness curriculum. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think I would like to take some time to just share how at LEAD we have been integrating these skills in our curriculum, and what we call it is a student development system. And our focus is not just on conceptual clarity, where the child understands what the concept is taught, but our focus is to take it many steps above, where the child is developing critical thinking skills, where the child is developing collaboration skills, communication skills, and also gets an exposure to a lot of different perspectives, so that they develop their creativity, their innovation skills. And I can probably look at, or like I'll take you through a few of the subjects that we and how we are imparting on this. So if you look at our pre-primary curriculum, our pre-primary is an integrated theme-based approach, which develops cognitive skills, motor skills, and social and emotional skills for school readiness. School readiness is a big thing which has come up in early childhood care and education as well, where they're saying that the child should be, so the first 3 years, the child is preparing for the school, or the child will become school ready. And in NEP, I think it's called Balvatika, that time period. Then ELGA, which is English Language and General Awareness, is our flagship English teaching program. One of you had asked about how to teach grammar, like communication we can teach, but how to teach grammar, right? So in ELGA, we do not follow a class structure where a class 1 child, all of the children in class 1 study together, all of the kids in class 2 study together. We see English as a skill. Language is a skill, and we teach English in a level-based program where in class 1 and class 2, but their level of English is similar, so they will be learning together. Some kids in class 1 may be in a higher level of English and they might be learning with class 3 kids. So that way it's a level-based programs where students are taught as per their current skills for accelerated learning. In mathematics, we use a concrete, pictorial, and abstract approach. Instead of directly moving into abstract approach, and a lot of kids that we see and a lot of teachers that we have spoken with say that kids have a fear of mathematics, and it's real. Like math phobia is so real in the children right now. So we start math with a concrete approach. Let's just look at boxes, let's just look at blocks, and then understand, and then move towards numbers and the abstract concepts of addition and subtractions and science. Learning by doing. We teach EVS and science with a learning by doing approach, which develops a strong foundation to apply knowledge in real life. In social studies, we use a visualize, locate, and connect approach, which helps connects to current events via videos, projects, field visits. One of you had said field visits to develop skills and also to develop empathy with our real our projects in real life. Use, think, build approach in our coding and computational skills program, which makes student future ready to create and creative problem solvers. They are making websites, they are making apps. All our students are doing that right now. And general awareness and values with the component approach in teaching Hindi as well. I would like to show you a small video on ELGA, which, let's go ahead, which shares about how we are teaching English at LEAD and not following a class-based approach.
Learning in LEAD School. How students learn English. At LEAD School, students don't learn English as a subject. They learn it as a skill. We call it ELGA, English Language and General Awareness. In ELGA, students are taught based on their current English skill level, irrespective of their age. The program is inspired by the Singapore education system and is adapted for the unique needs of India. Students are taught using phonics, whole words, reading and listening comprehension, grammar, and writing and speaking expression, each directed at developing a specific skill. All this is integrated with general awareness and values, making ELGA a powerful integrated way to build English competence. Across our schools, students have shown a growth of 180% in English in just 1 year. And in an English medium school, when students improve in English, they become better at other subjects too. ELGA, teaching English as a skill to thousands of students across India.
Thank you, Prajakta. I think we have some more time and maybe we can look at one more, which I spoke about how math is a real challenge for a lot of students. And they're really fearful of math because they can't connect with math. Is very abstract in its ways, but it can be unpacked. It can be scaffolded very beautifully. And as an engineer, I would say like I was very lucky to have teachers which developed a love for mathematics in me early on. I actually had a teacher who used to take us to gardens and show us how petals are symmetric or how flowers are symmetric and teach us symmetry through maths and Fibonacci series through nature. And which is what the math curriculum that we have developed at LEAD follows a very concrete and pictorial and abstract approach, which allows the child to connect to math to real life. Prajakta, if you can play this. Yes.
Learning at LEAD School. How students learn math. A lot of students find math difficult. Its symbols and operations are too abstract for them. At LEAD School, we solve this problem by following the world-renowned concrete pictorial abstract method to learn math. Concrete means doing math with actual objects and quantities. This helps students connect math to life. Pictorial means doing math with pictures and drawings. This helps students visualize math. Abstract is the final stage where students do math with symbols and numbers. In most schools, students learn math only at the abstract level. But following the concrete pictorial abstract process helps them understand that the math symbols stand for actual quantities. Now that students know their math, they love it. In LEAD partner schools, our students have shown a 72% mastery in math across classes. And that is how we are making math simple to learn for thousands of students across India.
Thank you so much, Prajakta. And just responding to one of the questions that had come before, Ullas said you had asked any idea when the textbooks are going to be changed. if I look at the timelines of NEP, May to December is the time when NCF and SCF are in development phases. And 2023 is when textbook development teams will be set up to make. That's what I read online. And so mostly like next year or the year after is when we can look at textbooks from NCERT on this. But so if there are any other questions, I would say feel free to unmute yourself and ask. It'll be good to hear your voices. Or otherwise, if you feel like, just put your questions in the chat.
Thank you, Ashima ma'am.